Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be testing out some paints that I got from Officeworks. These are the Born brand acrylic paints, and they're actually the Officeworks brand art supplies, so they're pretty affordable, and they come in these cute little small tubes, but you can also get bigger ones as well. And yeah, I just wanted to do a little test of these because I've done a lot of the Kmart art supplies and I've had a request to test out some Officeworks art supplies. So today we are going to be painting on a canvas, and I'm just going to use my regular paintbrushes that I have myself. And yeah, let's see how these paints turn out. Now, I usually like to go in and swatch my art supplies when I get a new set of paints or pencils or something like that, but because these tubes are rather small, I kind of want to save the paint that I have for the actual artwork because I'm a little bit worried that I may run out. So to begin this, I'm going to be doing something called grounding the canvas. This is basically where you take a color, either one that works well with what you're going to be painting or one that contrasts with the color that you're going to be painting, and you do just basically a flat layer underneath. Now this doesn't have to be completely even, you kind of just want to have a nice little layer of color that you're going to go over the top now once it's dry and paint in your details and stuff. So for my artwork, I'm actually going to be doing a little field with sunflowers. I just really felt like painting something that made me happy and just doing whatever I felt like painting in the moment. And this time it was sunflowers because sunflowers are my favorite flower. I really love them and I just think that they make me happy, and that's why I like making sunflower art. So before I actually get into the sunflowers, I am actually painting in a little landscape from back to front. So I'm starting off with the sky as you saw earlier, and I did a few layers to make sure that I covered that red up with the light blue that I'm using, and then after this I mixed in a little bit of green to that blue to paint some distant mountains. After that was dry, I went in and I painted another layer of mountains with some more green mixed into that color so that I had sort of almost like a really cool depth effect, if that makes sense. And then after this, now I'm just going in with some greens to do the first layer of my fields. So I'm starting off with some light colors at the top, and we are going to sort of blend that down almost like a gradient to some darker greens at the bottom. And this is just to show the sort of way that the sunflowers are almost mixing with the green because in my reference you can see well, you can't see it, but I can see it. There's almost like a blur effect to the horizon where the sunflower colors almost just mix in with that green at the end, and that's sort of what I wanted to hint at a little bit in this artwork, but in a different way though. My plan for this artwork is basically have a whole field of sunflowers, and they are a little bit less detailed because I actually want to have a sunflower in the foreground that is the main focus, and that is more detailed. But I kind of wanted to experiment a little bit and not do a blurring effect with the sort of depth perception. I wanted to see if I could add in details to this sunflower field while not blurring it, but also just keeping it a little bit more impressionistic, if that makes sense. So my first layers with this field, I added in that gradient sort of look, and after that dried, I went in and I'm just adding in some rough little leaf shapes. Now I'm not too worried about how these look because most of them are going to be covered up by the sunflowers, but it would look a little bit strange if they were just not there, so that's why I painted them in. And as you can see, a lot of them are very small at the top and very large at the bottom, and that's really going to help us push the perspective and the depth. After this, it's time to add in some sunflowers. Now towards the horizon, they're going to be very small to push that perspective, so they're basically just little tiny yellow dots. And with this paint, I had to actually mix a little bit of white in with the yellow so that it was more opaque, and I had to do that with a few colors, but that's okay because you can add in more layers and paint more layers over the top if you still want that vibrancy. Now I feel like that actually worked a little bit to my favor because I was able to get a subtle swirly texture to the sunflowers, and I don't know, I just really like the look of that and I think it looks very cute. Now, time to add in some more details because these just basically look like yellow flowers at the moment and we want them to look like sunflowers. So I'm actually going in with a light brown and I'm just doing tiny little circles inside the yellow circles, and this is what is really going to push it more to a sunflower look, even though we aren't adding too much detail to the background. Even though I say it's not that detailed, individually they're not very detailed, but together, especially with the leafy like under layer and then all of these like intricate flowers, actually does push the detail a fair bit, and I think with the amount of them together, I think it looks really cool. So after that was dried, it's time to do my main sunflower, and I'm actually going to do a subtle sketch just with a white pastel pencil, and this is basically going to be my pencil sketch that I'm going to paint over. And yeah, I just wanted to do this sunflower more detailed, so almost like the camera is focusing on this sunflower and the others are like you're kind of not paying attention to them, if that makes sense, even though if you look at them you are. But yeah, that's just the sort of effect that I wanted to get for this painting. So let's talk a little bit more about these paints and how they work. Honestly, I found the colors pretty nice. I did notice a big difference in the way that the colors look when they're wet compared to dry. They do dry a little bit darker and a little bit less opaque. So you will have to keep an eye on that, and you know, just take care when like mixing colors and stuff like that. And you might have to add a few layers compared to very expensive paints where you may have to do less layers of paint. They actually have a nice sort of glossy look to them, which honestly I really like. I think it helps the colors look nice and vibrant, and yeah, I don't know, I feel like with acrylic paints you can sort of get away with cheaper paints if you're just starting out or you can't afford very expensive paints. I feel like you can definitely still get really nice results with lower quality paints. You kind of just have to work with it a little bit more and sort of work around those issues. So anyways, back to the sunflower now. I'm actually painting this in a slightly different technique because with the background I didn't really do much blending at all, and I did that on purpose. And for this sunflower I wanted to have it more detailed, so I am adding a little bit of blending here on the leaves. I'm also doing some little highlights with the veins on the leaves as well, and soon we are going to go in and paint the sunflower itself, like the flowery part of the sunflower. So now that I have the leaves and the stalk done pretty well, I'm actually going to go in now for the last part, and that is the petals and the middle of the sunflower. And I realized straight away that the yellow was definitely too transparent to just paint in the petals straight away, so I had to mix more white with that yellow so that it would actually show up. And that's not too much of a bother anyways, because I see that sometimes with more expensive paints anyways. And what I actually do to combat this is I added a little bit of white, and then later on I went in with more yellow over the top once that was dry, to try and like bring back that vibrancy, because when you mix white with paints it sort of desaturates it a little bit, so that extra layer of yellow helped that. Next I'm actually going to go in with another layer here, and it's just pure white this time because I want to go in and add in some like highlights to this sunflower petals. And I'm actually just using my paintbrush very lightly to add in little petal shapes, and I'm not too worried about the white being fully opaque, because with subtle little streaks it actually helps to allude to details in those petals. And then once that was dry I went back over again with just the pure yellow this time, and that really helped to push like the brightness. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good now. After this I'm just going to add in just a little bit more shadow towards the middle of the sunflower, because that is where the middle of the flower is going to be. Now I'm just going in with my dark brown color, and we're just adding in that circle part, and then we're going to put some little textures over the top. And that is pretty much it for our sunflower, and honestly I love this painting so much. I was actually inspired to paint this because my partner Jesse has recently got into art and painting, and I'm very proud of him and I love watching his art journey. And he painted a sunflower because I love sunflowers, and now I painted a sunflower because he painted a sunflower because he inspired me. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this sunflower field with the sunflower. It is one of my favorite acrylic paintings I've done so far, and I loved it. And this definitely proves that even with like more affordable paints, you can still make good art if you have the skills to do it. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Please stay safe out there, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye everyone.